So in this video, I wanted to show my process in making each of these individual shapes in shader nodes and how I ended up even making an animation of this. So I'll just play that now. Looks like that. I think I'll just start with the heart. So the hearts, if I can remember, is just two circles and a sine wave. I used a sine wave to get a nice curve, but you really can use all kinds of methods. You can even use a triangle, but this is just two circles, so I'll show that now. These two circles plus this sine wave, which is just a portion of a sine wave. It would look like, I think, so this is the sine wave I used. I think it's two sine waves multiplied together. Well, anyways, you can ignore the math behind this. I use this shape plus this shape, these two circles, to get this. And that's basically the heart done. It was the simplest of all of the shapes. So it should be pretty self-explanatory. Next up, let's do the spade. Okay, so the spade, similar to the heart, it uses two circles and a sine wave. So what I did was I copied the heart and I pasted it up here, just using nodes, of course. You can't interact with this with your mouse. So I copied the setup for the heart, rotated it by 180 degrees, and I added this little, not sure what to call it. It's a little stand for the symbol, maybe? I don't know. This probably has some name. And I rounded it out with some circles. Let's show the actual shader behind it. It is here, and this is before rounding it. So you'll see these have like almost right angles over here, and this has super sharp angles where this part meets the heart. So I subtracted these. I call these rounders because they're basically just little tools that you build yourself. You have to build these using nodes, and you have them cut out of a sharp angle to make them look round. And that's one of the simplest way to make things round. There are some math systems you can use to make things round, but that's what I use for this project, and it worked pretty well actually. It aligned perfectly to the bottom and to the top. So this is an actual round piece, and I used an absolute node to mirror this. Same is true for the top. Let's see where, there you go. Yeah, I added, it should look something like this. I added this to the heart I call it a heart. It's just a flipped heart shape. I added this to round out these sharp corners. Yeah, that was basically my process for making the spade. It was really all about the heart, copying the heart symbol and just adding this little handle. I think we should talk about the club, because the club was actually one of the most fun to make. It uses three circles and another handle, and I did not copy and paste the handle because I looked at my reference image and they were actually slightly different. So this is just three circles. I'll show you the shader setup. It looks like this. So I'll select the nodes that are making the clubs right now. They are these. These selected here make the clubs. And they're, like I said, made of three circles. I wonder if I can find exactly where these circles are. Here they are. I can recognize that these are three circles because of the length nodes. I added a little piece in the middle to fill it in. Since many of the logos are kind of up to interpretation, there's no real set way to make these the right way. There's just make a iconic looking spades or diamond. I made these kind of arbitrarily. I did not use a reference image very strictly, so I just tossed some circles together and I added a triangle in the middle. This is without the triangle. I added a triangle in the middle to fill in this little triangular hole here. So this would be the handle. Keep calling it a handle, but it's not actually a handle. That's just a name I've given it now. It is made of 2 circles. I think it's just a square or a rectangle that looks like this, and I've subtracted it by 2 circles that are mirrored. Yeah, that gives it this curved look. And then I round it using this rounding shader setup that I built. And I do the same for this top here, like that. So that means I'm basically taking this and I'm adding this to it, which rounds it off. It makes it look round. So that was my process for the clubs. Next up is the diamonds, which was by far the easiest. I made it in, I wonder how quickly I made it. I made it in just a few minutes, I think, while the rest took about 30 minutes. Let's see. I think the diamonds are a very small portion of the node setup. Yeah, there it is. So compared to the rest, it's tiny. It is just these that I've selected. Just this small group makes the diamonds, and the rest builds everything else. Just for, you know, a reference of scale. And the diamonds are really just one single circle that looks like this, subtracted by all of these. So I'm actually going to duplicate the node so you can see this better. Subtracted by these circles. I have 4 circles around the diamond, and I increase their threshold on the less than node to make them bigger, and that gives me this. It's really simple. 5 circles, that's all you need. I could do it in less if I were like speedrunning this, so it's kind of self-explanatory. Here are the spades and the heart, and here's the clubs, and here is the diamond. So let's go over the animation. Since it was kind of an afterthought for me, I really did focus on making the symbols first, and then I thought, oh, I could make an animation out of this. So let's go all the way to the first frame. I'm on frame 0 right now, and it's completely white. This is on a white world background, by the way. I'm in Eevee, and if I play the animation, it looks like this. This is made by using mix shaders that are set between transparent and just colors. So here I have the colors of my cards. They start out pretty random because they're invisible, but once they're visible, they are red like this. And sorry for the black background, it's kind of hard to see these. Gray, red, and I use this to decide, it's basically an alpha to decide what's visible and what isn't. I flip it, and I'm mixing between this color and just transparency, so nothing, which gives me basically an alpha setup. So if I scroll back and view my last node, it's kind of becoming visible while also changing colors. It's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with it. It did not take that long to set up. I think one of the coolest parts of it is that it's like twirly, right? I can choose how twirly these are. Spiralized maybe would be the word, but that's done by rotating it by the length of all vectors. So I'm drawing a circle. If it's closer, I'm going to rotate it less. If it's farther away, I'm going to rotate it more, and so on and so on. That goes infinitely because this is procedural. So let's see, the final frame and these in-betweens, that's just controlled by a multiply. This is kind of like the spiralness of it. You can think of the slider like that. Pretty cool. Yeah, so it goes from black and white, add color, and there you go. You have a pretty nice animation. This was done in one evening, and I ended up making tweaks for just a few days to get it to look like this. This is made with only nodes. There is zero, mouse clicking and dragging points. No, I just move sliders to make this. I know that a lot of people might get confused or maybe even like scared of trying to understand this kind of system. But once you understand a small component of it, it actually becomes pretty easy. Like all of this is just a bunch of math operations, and if you understand them individually, you can just read this like a book almost. For example, I know that this is for the diamonds because I can see a length and an absolute less than. I know that gives me a circle. I know this gives me 4 circles. I'm not looking at the viewport, but I know what this does. And I know what this mapping does. I mean, I'm the person that made it, so I know. But even if you sent me a random shader setup, I would be able to read it using just the nodes. So it's not all random. It is understandable if you try hard enough, and eventually it becomes easy. I hope that encourages you to learn nodes. They're not that crazy. The craziest part is not the nodes. The craziest part for me is the workflow. It's understanding how to think in nodes, how to translate your ideas into a big node math system. And that's difficult. That's not intuitive. So I recommend you practice for a long time. I practiced for just a few months to get this good, and I'm sure we can get very far. Thanks for watching.